Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Embracing Your Essence on Lilydale Radio, as well as on Facebook Live. I just want to welcome you to this great show tonight. We are going to be talking about empaths and narcissists. And before we get to that, a few details, of course. As you log in, do say hello. I am, as I said, Colleen Vanderzyden. I'm a registered medium here at Lilydale, an intuitive life coach. I am an author, a spiritual teacher, etc. And some details that you need to know about lilydaleassembly.org is where you are going to find all of the off-season Zoom workshops, as well as the in-season summer workshops, everything that's happening. So lilydaleassembly.org, that's where you'll find everything. The official Facebook page for Lilydale is Lilydale Assembly Incorporated, and you might be watching there right now. And my official page on Facebook is Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and intuitive life coach. And if you're not following me, feel free to do so. I'll mention now, and I'll mention again later, that if you have comments or questions during tonight's show, you need to be on my page, Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and intuitive life coach, so I can see your comments, okay, and answer your questions, etc. For those I catch, of course. And my website is ColleenVanderzyden.com. So just a couple things again as you're joining in. Hi, Ashley. Nice to see you. Feel free to say hi, everybody. Lilydale summer season begins on June 20th and goes to August 31st. Here is the catalog that lists everything that's happening. So if you are interested in coming to Lilydale this summer, you can call the office and you can order one of these catalogs. That they charge you shipping fee. It's like $5 or something. You can also find all of the information again on lilydaleassembly.org. And a copy of my book, Colleen Vanderzyden's book here, Courageously You. I wrote this book to help people step into their power, to be their true selves, and some strategies to help people get unstuck from whatever is happening so they can have more joy. So I'm going to say hello to some people, and then we are going to get right to it because we have so much to talk about tonight. So, hi, Angel. Oh, Florida. I hope the weather is amazing. It's finally getting warmer up here in Lilydale. And hi, Jan from Ontario. I probably won't see you this summer, but nice of you to join us here. Hi, Danette. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Nicole. Yeah, it's going to be a great summer season, everybody. We have the most amazing people coming. It's going to be wonderful. And Diane, nice to see you. And Charity, yay. Virginia and Irma and Tracy, nice to see you all. So thank you so much for joining me. So tonight, what we're doing, it's basically going to be, I said to Greg today, we were taking a walk, and I said, my radio show tonight is a mini workshop. And he's like, really? I'm like, yes. So it's basically going to be a mini free workshop for you. How fun is that? It's so important, I think, for us to share this information tonight. So I'm still saying hello to people, apparently. Hi, Denise, Pennsylvania. Yay. Yes, the cover of the program book is awesome. And hi, Fran. I saw you go by. There you are. And hi, Bambi. Oh, Dallas. Nice, nice. Hi, Debbie, Arizona. Look we are all over the place, aren't we? Isn't it wonderful? So tonight, what we're going to do is we are going to be talking about empaths and narcissists. We are going to talk about how to handle empaths. No, not empaths. We're great. How to handle narcissists. We're going to talk about some ideas to help you recover after narcissistic encounters. We are going to talk about some thoughts on how to move forward, what's really important to know if you are an empath and struggling with narcissists. And let's see. So we're going to talk also about how narcissists operate, how they make us feel, because if you understand that, then it's so much easier to detach from their effects. We'll talk about, again, recovering. If you want to ask questions or have comments, you want to be on my page rather than Facebook, Lilydale's Facebook page, because I can't see Lilydale's Facebook page. I'm on my own page, so Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and intuitive life coach. So if you have questions or comments and you want me to acknowledge them tonight, feel free to hop over here so I can see them. And if I don't catch them tonight, I usually go through the Lilydale comments on the next day so I can check things out there tomorrow. So one more last scroll over here. And if you are just joining me again, I'm Colleen Vanderzyden, a medium here at Lilydale, author, a life coach, etc. So let's first, very briefly, hi Lynn, discuss what is an empath. Okay, most people know what an empath is, particularly if you think you are an empath. So I'm just going to give you a few ideas because I want to spend most of our time on narcissists, actually. So As an empath, and I'm going to say we, because if you're watching this show, you're probably an empath. We have these most beautiful, caring hearts. We are compassionate, kind, and loving. We love to help other people. We like to be there for them. It's just who we are. We are very sensitive, and you may notice that you are sensitive not only energetically, but also to sounds or even foods or sensations. Along with that, we're very intuitive. We pick up on things because, of course, as empaths, we're reading other people quite a bit, aren't we? We're trying to figure out if we're safe. We're trying to figure out if they're good people, all of these things. So we are frequently reading the room, reading the energy, and we do have those intuitive moments about what's going to happen, premonitions and things like that. As an empath, we also have this great need to not hurt other people. Okay, which can lead us to stay in a narcissistic relationship too long, or in a job that we don't enjoy, those kinds of things. We also tend to prioritize other people's needs over our own. We're so used to helping people. We're so used to dropping everything and going to help people. So this is a tendency for empaths. It doesn't mean we all do it all of the time or anything like that. But part of it is because we are sensitive and caring. We want to help. Okay, sometimes, well, lots of times actually, we can take on other people's stuff, right? They're having a problem and we're worried for them. So we worry about them all night long. We want to fix them. We want to help them. And sometimes it's their path and we have no control over this. We can't help them. We tend to pick up other people's emotions. And those of you who are newer to understanding you're an empath, you might wonder, sometimes you walk by somebody and all of a sudden you're in a bad mood and you think to yourself, what happened? Like, what happened? And maybe you just picked up somebody else's energies. So an issue that can come from being an empath is that we can become codependent, where we are always trying to help and it just turns into this lopsided relationship. And this is a big problem when we have narcissists in our lives. So no matter how hard we try, we're never going to be able to fix them. We're never going to be able to make it better. But here's a problem. Empaths, we keep trying, right? Or we get stuck just hoping that things are going to get better. Sometimes I hear people say, well, I'm an empath, and they do it in a very interesting way. I'm an empath, and I pick up other people's energies, and I can't help it. I just want to say very emphatically, no, just no. Even if you're an empath, you don't have to pick up other people's energies. There are strategies, ideas, and we're going to talk about some of those tonight, that can help you get your energy stronger so that you don't have to pick up others' energies. You don't have to carry other people's stuff. Even if you care about them, you don't have to. So this is really wonderful. Let me know in the comments if you think you're an empath. I would also be interested to know if you've had a narcissistic relationship. Angel says the word boundary didn't grace my vocabulary till I was in my 40s. Mine was in the 50s, she says, or he. I was 40s. Thanks. I love my salt lamps. I have them in my reading room as well. So, have you ever been in a relationship with a narcissist, right? It could be romantic or otherwise, right? Family, friend, boss, colleague, whatever. And it is so interesting because when we're having some kind of a relationship with a narcissist, it's like we're living in this weird twilight zone, right? It's like we don't really know what's true. It's like something's messing with our heads. And when we're in that relationship, we can tend to doubt ourselves and question what is real. Look at this. Yes, and yes, and yes. I always say that empaths and narcissists, we just go together. It's just the way it is. Some narcissists are they do it on purpose, but many of them, they don't really know what they're doing. So I just want to put that out there. So if you've had this feeling where somebody's messing in your head, you're in that twilight zone, you're definitely dealing with a narcissist, right? We are the magnets. So what I am going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story here and see if you can relate to it. Because as I go through this story, you're going to hear different qualities, different behaviors that narcissists exhibit, and just see if you can relate to this. Lynn says, I feel I'm an empath. An empath, my sister, is my narcissist. Is that what you're saying, Lynn? Yes and yes, yes and yes. I'm definitely an empath and spent 16 years in a narcissistic relationship, Kate Ann says. 3 years, Denise. Ashley, yes. Then the narcissists come in different forms until we learn. And that is such a good point, right? Lots of times when we think of narcissists, we always think of partners. And granted, yes, so many empaths have had a romantic partner that are narcissists. And that's just the way it is. So we have to recognize that. Virginia, I am an empath and have had a narcissistic relationship. I'm waiting for somebody to go, I'm a narcissist. Nobody's going to do that because we don't know we're narcissists when we're narcissists. Kathy's been in 2 narcissistic relationships. Jessica's just learning boundaries. We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I have a little bit of a different take on that than I used to way back in the relationship I'm going to tell you about. I think I may be an empath. You are, Jessica. I'll just tell you that right now. You are. Angel says, turns out my mother was a narcissist. That's why I embraced it for so long. It is so difficult when it's our mother that's a narcissist, because this is the person who's supposed to be raising us, right? This is the person who's supposed to put our needs ahead of theirs, and narcissists just don't do that. So very interesting there. That's a tough one. Michelle, the narcissist in my life is my brother-in-law's wife. I'm absolutely lost as to what to do tactfully. Yes, maybe some of the things I talk about tonight will help. And if not, ask further questions later and we'll try to catch me. Heather, empath and too many relationships with narcissists. At least you know now, right? And that's important. Okay, good. That makes sense, Lynn. Thank you. Love the salt lamps and your hair looks great. Thank you, Ron. I think we are all narcissists. Oh, such a good point. I'm so glad you said that, Connie. Because really, now what we want to do is define that maybe a little bit better, right? We are living our own lives, okay? And we want to prioritize ourselves and our needs. But it's the energy and the attitude that we do it from that defines to me what a true narcissist is. A narcissist is very egotistical, superior acting. They believe they're always right. These kinds of things. They have no sense of empathy for other people and no caring. So while we might have some narcissistic qualities or tendencies, the energy that empaths come from is usually loving and caring and kind. And prioritizing our own needs is not narcissistic or selfish or anything like that. So we may have some tendencies, but we're probably not true narcissists for sure. Nicole, been married to one for 21 years. Did not realize it until a few years ago. That was the beginning of self-healing, and it's been painful. I'm sure it has, and I hope the things I talk about tonight are helpful for you. Jan says, my daughter's ex was a narcissist, and it was so hard to watch. Oh, that must have been so difficult because we want to help the daughter, but the daughter has to recognize it herself, and at the same time, you're watching what's happening. Oh, that must have been horrible for you. Kate, I was so mentally and emotionally beat down that I was just existing. How many people can relate to that in a narcissistic relationship where you're just existing? It took some huge life changes like losing my mom to wake up. We are all narcissistic in some way. And Greg is going to give us some information. Here's a brief synopsis. I won't read the whole thing. Let's see. Narcissistic personality disorder. Maybe I will read the whole thing. No, it's long. So feel free to read that. Oh my goodness, look at all those things. So there, lots of information on this. So let me tell you this little story. And again, if you're just joining in, I'm Colleen Vanderzyden. If you want to make a comment, ask a question, eventually maybe there'll be time for some questions. Make sure you're on my Facebook page, Colleen Vanderzyden, medium and intuitive life coach. Okay. So I was in a relationship a long time ago where I started to question what was real. As many narcissists do, he came on very strong, very caring. He seemed to be so caring and seemed to be truly interested in who I was as a person. And the way he talked led me to believe he was very successful in business and was well respected. And any of the problems he'd had in his life and his business were not his fault, okay? But here's what ended up happening. So in the beginning, you know how it is in the beginning of the relationship. You're like, oh, how wonderful. And then after a few months, though, he became really needy. He resented the time I spent working. He resented the time I spent with my children because he wasn't getting all of my attention. He started complaining about other people taking advantage of him and how he wasn't appreciated enough. I did all these things for them, and look what they're doing for me. Anytime I was concerned about something in the relationship, he would complain with, you always say that. You always say that, as though I was making it up. Because he couldn't see my point of view, nothing ever got resolved. I'm sure all of you who have experienced a narcissistic relationship recognize this, right? We're trying to help, we're trying to say things, but they don't get it. They just don't get it. So he would twist my comments back on me and how I was doing something which was causing him to drink or have affairs because I was having an affair, which I was not. It was very strange. He was mad at my adult kids because they didn't do what he wanted them to do, but he never told them what he wanted them to do. So then he was mad because I guess they weren't mind readers or something, right? I felt like I was in the twilight zone. What he thought was true wasn't, and I started to doubt myself. Have you experienced that as well? Where you start to doubt yourself and you start to think, what is wrong with me here? And for me, I was trying to be spiritual, right? I was trying to do the right thing. I wanted to accept him for who he was and all of that. But in the meantime, what ended up happening is I started to lose touch with myself as I tried to make this relationship work. At that time, I didn't know he was a narcissist. I didn't know much about narcissism. It was a while ago. But now that I know more, I can see so much, an inflated perception of himself. Have you noticed that? Blaming others for problems, believing he's always right and he's entitled to whatever he wants. If somebody didn't do what he wanted, he was always irrationally angry. You may have experienced that too. It became apparent he didn't care how he treated people because narcissists don't have empathy. They may act like they do, but you know how the true colors have to come out eventually. They don't have it. So you might have experienced this where somebody was so charming and you're like, wow, this is amazing. I feel so special, until you fall off that pedestal that they put you on. And then they find out you're not who they projected you to be, right? And now they turn on you. Then the narcissist turns on you and they blame you. They're the victim. You're the one that's not seeing things clearly. You're the one that's overreacting. You're the one that's wrong. You're no longer good enough. They've created this like fantasy land, right? It's a fantasy land, making up stories to justify what they want to be true with no awareness to what really is true. Narcissists, man, they get in our heads and they mess with our minds. But empaths, we keep trying to make it work, right? And we keep thinking then what happens is we start to feel like something is wrong with us. There's something wrong with us. Now, how many of you can relate to that story? It's a universal story, right? It is a universal story. Sometimes when people come in for readings or coaching sessions or soul readings or whatever, we'll be chatting because things come up as they do, right? And their story is my story and my story is their story. It's the same and unique at the same time, right? With all of this, narcissists, they don't understand our perspectives. They'll never be able to connect with us at that deeper level that empaths really want. Lots of times as empaths, we just hope it's going to get better. But that's not how it works, right? That's not how it works because narcissists are very unlikely to change. Now for us, empaths, we are being so sensitive, right? We may not even be aware that we're being played. We just might not even get it. It messes with our minds. And then we feel badly. We're trying to fix it. We're the ones that believe we can make this work. We believe that somehow we can get through with them. And along with that, what ends up happening is we stop speaking our needs. We downplay them. We put them on the back burner. They're not that important. And then we might become enablers or codependent, right? And then we feel guilty because we should have known this was happening, And this, what happens here for so many of us with a narcissist, we as empaths, and most people, we have this part of us that believes we're not good enough. And that narcissist comes along and triggers that, because they're telling us everything we're doing wrong. And then we start telling ourselves everything we're doing wrong because we should be able to fix it. Isn't it something else? But because you are a caring, kind, loving person, you keep trying to explain your point of view, but then they come back with another comment. A narcissist hones in on your weak spots and then attacks them. And when they do this, it shakes your self-confidence. And eventually you do start to believe that you aren't really good enough. So there you are, right? As we start to doubt our value, we don't trust ourselves anymore. There's an inner voice that tells us 99.99% of the time when we're in a narcissistic relationship that we need to leave, that there's something wrong, that maybe it's not us. There's a voice inside of us that's saying, you've got to protect yourself. You've got to do something, right? And because of the state we're in, which is not our fault, there's nothing wrong with us, okay? There's nothing wrong with us. But because of the state we're in, we're not thinking clearly anymore. So I tell you all of this so that you can see, if you've been there, what you've experienced. And once we know how these narcissists operate, then it's so much easier for us to release the effects from their games. We can stop playing those games. And then we realize we shouldn't be taking it personally. Narcissists aren't going to apologize. They're not going to understand you. Let go of wanting it. It's so rare to hear an apology from a narcissist. Like so rare. Stop wanting it. We always think, okay, if they would just tell me, if they would just understand, we would feel better. But they're not going to. So to help ourselves feel better, we have to let that idea go. It is very hard because as humans, we want a conclusion, right? We want, if we end a relationship, we want to make sure we at least said our piece and somebody heard us, but it's not going to happen. So it is difficult sometimes for us to end that kind of relationship and move on because we still have this unfinished business, but we have to let it go. Just let it go. And this is really going to help us as we start to heal and recover. Or also, if we are in a relationship now with a narcissist, to recognize that they don't get you. They just don't get you. Okay, so stop wanting them to get you. In doing that, scary, I know, now you have a little bit more clarity. Because now you're going to go, if they're not going to change, what am I going to do? Okay, now, when you let go of wanting them to change, you let go of the apology, wanting that apology, and you ask yourself, what can I do? You are getting back into your power. The narcissist was taking it away from you, but you going in a different direction. Now you're getting back into your power. Remember, their behavior has nothing to do with you as who you are as a person. It has nothing to do with you. You actually did the best you could in an unwinnable situation. You can't win. And understanding this will help you let go of some of that self-imposed guilt that you should have known better. You should have been able to do something differently. You should have been been able, let me do it in a different sentence, been able to get through to them. You should have. No, you shouldn't have. Their game is all about how superior they are and how everybody else is less than superior. They're playing with your mind for their benefit. This is a game you cannot win. Greg likes to say, don't play a rigged game. Okay? Yes, you can watch this video later. It'll be on my page, Colleen Vanderzyden, Medium Intuitive Life Coach, and Lily Dale's page. It will be in the feed, and it's also in the video section on both of the pages. Okay, so remember this. If you understand that their game has nothing to do with you, who you are as a person, it's so much easier to detach from their effects. There's nothing wrong with you. It's all about them, which it is, right? It's all about them, but in a different way now. We recognize their behavior is their behavior, and it has nothing to do with you. They like to make you feel wrong and unstable. They're taking your power. They've manipulated you, repeating, there's nothing wrong with you. I like to say that empaths and narcissists go together so well, that narcissists are our best friends. And when I say that, everybody goes, oh, yuck, what are you saying? And what I'm saying is because they help us. They force us to get our power back. In a narcissistic relationship, we become so lost and so miserable that we eventually realize we have to save ourselves. We have to save ourselves. We have to prioritize ourselves and get back to being who we really are, but the newer and wiser version of who we are. This becomes a matter of survival for so many of us, and I know many of you will relate to this. It is a matter of survival. We have to prioritize ourselves. Now, to handle narcissists and to heal from toxic encounters, etc., understanding how narcissists operate is essential to help us recover and get back to our true selves. And I'm going to talk more about getting back to your true self and lots of ideas to help you get there so that you can heal, recover, and be the strongest, most powerful, happiest version of yourself. You're not responsible for how they feel. You're not responsible for what they believe to be true. So again, stop trying to fix or be understood. Just stop. Just stop. We want to rebuild your power. Now, one thing that was very helpful for me, and maybe for you as well, it can be helpful to adopt the belief that everything that happens to you is to help you become the best version of yourself, to help you reclaim your soul, if you will, to be in your soul's power. So what can we learn about ourselves when we're dealing with a narcissist? What can we learn? So many things. But 4 key points right now. I learned that my boundaries of acceptable behavior weren't clear. They weren't clear to myself and they weren't clear to others. Of course, they couldn't be clear to others because I didn't know what my boundaries were. So I needed to figure it out and then act on it. Okay. There's a little misconception with boundaries that we set a boundary and they are crossing it. But I read something on the more recent side that was we set the boundaries for ourselves. When somebody crosses the boundary, it's not necessarily that they should have done a different behavior. And maybe, yes, they should have, but they didn't. It's what we do with the boundary we set. So if we say they do this, my reaction, my boundary, my response, my responsibility is to act on my boundary and do what we need to do, right? So we need to know our boundaries, and it's okay to set them after the fact. You don't have to know ahead of time and say, well, I never told him this is my boundary. No, you can set it now and say, this is unacceptable, and that's the way it is. I learned also that you can't play a rigged game. No matter what I did, I was never going to have my emotional needs met by this person. I would never get the understanding. I would never get the empathy or the apology. Again, let that go. Okay, you can't win the game. It's impossible. You're not going to win. I learned I had to focus on the facts without emotional attachment. Where you go, okay, he's mean. Well, he had a bad day. That's excuses, right? We're enabling. Oh, I had a bad day. La, la, la. We make all these excuses. We don't speak up. We don't say anything. But if you're mean, we should call it out. If you're being a jerk, we need to call it out. If you're being unkind, we need to call it out. So we have to focus on the facts without telling a story behind it that causes other emotions. Okay. We also, what we learn, and this is most important, is we need to learn and remember to listen to ourselves. to trust what we know is true and best for ourselves. No one else knows. They don't know. We are the only people who know what's best for ourselves. But what we do, again, is talk ourselves out of action, right? So we need to reconnect with our true selves. Narcissists can teach us so much and can help us become the best version of ourselves. There's so much we can learn if we're open to it. I just happened to see this comment. My ex doesn't even pay his alimony. That's a story in itself. But to be honest, I do not want the money. I'd like the money, right? Of course. Yeah, it kills him to see me thriving. I wish others would understand my view when they get on me about this situation. There's something very important, right? About us living our lives the way we want to live them in our power, not being affected by these other people. So narcissists are wonderful to help us recommit to ourselves, to decide to thrive, to decide to move forward in living the life we want instead of the life we were told we were going to have, or where we gave away our power so much trying to make things better that we really truly lost ourselves. So we need to be strong in our sense of self. We need to know who we are. Everything I'm going to say now, I've got a list of 7 things, is going to help you handle a narcissistic encounter as well as help you heal afterwards. Because remember, narcissists are our friends. They're just trying to help us grow and evolve on our soul's journey. Woo, okay. So, narcissists point out our weaknesses, right? Where you believe you aren't good enough. And what we want to do is use that information to get stronger. So don't let them win by believing their lies. Just don't let them. So to be strong in our sense of self, and this is an ongoing path, okay? This relationship was ages ago, and I'm still learning more and more about myself, of course, with my book, Courageously You. This is my calling. This is my passion. This is what I help people to do in my coaching programs, my retreat, our community, in readings, in whatever, in coachings. Everything is there to help people be themselves, to be in their power, to be strong. So I have lots to say about this, but particularly for empaths, because we are so kind and caring and loving, it's hard for us. It's hard for us when people don't like us. It's hard for us when people don't get us and understand us. We want to know our strengths and weaknesses. When narcissists say things that hit you in a weak spot, that triggers you, okay, if you can know that there's a weakness there, there's something inside of you that is like, they're making me feel horrible, and it's usually, again, that we're not good enough, right? But if we know that's what they do, we can learn more about those strengths and weaknesses, and we can also mentally prepare ourselves on how we're going to respond. Okay, if we know they always say something like, oh, well, I thought you were going to lose weight, but you didn't lose weight yet, and you've been trying and it's not working and you're feeling like a failure, you're not good enough, right? If you feel like that, and then a narcissist said to you, oh, I see you're having a problem losing weight, it's going to hit you in the heart. It is. But if you know that's what they're going to do, you can prepare yourself. How are you going to respond? Are you going to just walk away? Are you going to stand up for yourself? Doesn't usually make a difference, so you might not want to go that route. What are you going to do? So you get the choice of how you're going to respond to whatever it is. So if you plan ahead, you'll be more prepared. So we want to look at different things, right? And the strengths and weaknesses. If you get upset, it's a good sign that there's a disempowering self-belief that's being triggered. Okay, so, and I'm not saying there's something wrong with you, and I'm not saying you deserve it. I'm saying we're using this as a learning opportunity. What is it? It's always going to be along the lines of not good enough in some way, always, okay? So there's a part of us, and everyone has this. I haven't met anybody who doesn't have a little bit of not good enough feelings inside themselves, okay? I haven't met anybody, and I know lots and lots of people. So there's nothing wrong with us. It's just the way it is, right? But if we work on this and we recognize, okay, I'm not feeling good enough in this area, we want to counteract these beliefs by shifting our self-perception. And when we do this, we get stronger. We start believing in ourselves. Okay. So like in my upcoming Reimagine Your Life retreat, we work on letting go of the blocks and the obstacles that are stopping us from living our most ideal life, from being our most amazing self. So we learn how to let go of things. We have to study. Now, sometimes it's hard to do by ourselves. So we might need to have a coach, or we might take a class, or we might go to a retreat, or whatever it might be. So there are people out there who can help us. We don't have to figure it all out ourselves. I just happened to catch Nicole's comment here. He accused me of being negative. I strongly disagreed. After thinking about it, I was always negative around him because I was always bracing for the worst. Can anybody relate for that? Woohoo, right? I made a conscious effort to stay positive, even around him. Not easy, she says. My life has improved, and every day it seems easier to block his negativity. This is because you are in your power. You are definitely in your power, and you're being intentional about how you're acting. So she made the choice. My negativity gets triggered here, and I am going to choose to be positive no matter what. Because she's in her power, he's not going to affect her as much, right? So little things. So sometimes, we do get some help. Sometimes we figure it out, whatever it is. Now, when we start believing in ourselves, what happens is we move into this state of non-attachment. Okay, non-attachment. It means something happens, but we don't have an emotional reaction to it, where somebody else's opinions won't affect you as much, right? Being empaths, things are still going to affect us. But if we are working to stay in our power, we get through things much faster. So maybe in the past, it would be 5 days of you having sleepless nights because something happened. Now maybe it would only be 1 day because you're going, you know what? That's not true. I am a good person. I do know what I'm doing. I am good enough. And we affirm, or we take those positive actions. So there's so much there. What we want to do is be intentional. Stop reacting, which is when we just react out of habit. We're not really thinking. We're triggered. Stop reacting. Be intentional. And instead decide how you're going to respond. So you just decide, I'm going to do it this way. Okay, somebody. Ashley, are you still on here? Will you get rid of this troll here? IGE Nuru, if you're still here. Yeah, we have a troll, everybody. Every now and then we get these trolls and stuff. So ignore them, okay? So next thing. Being strong in yourself means you're also responsible for yourself and only for yourself. You don't expect or wait for somebody else to fix it. You just don't expect it. You don't wait for it. You don't wait for the apology. You don't wait for the understanding. You do what you have to do to feel better. You are responsible for you. You are not responsible for how they feel or what they think. Okay? Don't play their game. You are not responsible. You are only responsible for you, not them. Remember, their opinion and the way they treat you is not an accurate perception of you. It's not accurate. They're creating their own story and assigning you a role that isn't yours. You don't have to take it. Don't look to them to validate your self-worth. You are responsible for validating your own self-worth. Okay? That's your job. Oh my goodness, this person's going to drive me bananas. I don't know if I can block it myself. Okay, y'all just ignore them. I'll block them at the end if Ashley's not around. Okay, the next thing. When you're dealing with a narcissist, before, during, after, be yourself. Don't change yourself to please another. We must speak our truth. You'll need to check in with yourself and be honest with yourself. So, what do you think? What do you feel? We have to take time to deliberately reconnect to ourselves. And again, the better you understand yourself, the less likely someone else is going to override what you know to be true. Okay? The more you understand yourself, someone else isn't going to override it. You won't be giving your power away to them, trying to help or whatever, make them understand. You're not going to lose your sense of self. This is the problem that happens with empaths and narcissists. Okay, when we're in a narcissistic relationship, the narcissist causes us to lose our sense of self because we are trying to fix, help, blah, 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 blah. It is necessary that we choose to be ourselves. And in that regard, we need to listen to our intuition and our inner guidance. We've got to pay attention to those red flags, or I like to call them the red banners, because flags are just so little, but banners. When we have a narcissist, those flags become banners, and they are flying right in our face. And we're still like, oh, they're just having a bad day. It's okay. It's okay. Instead, we want to be deliberate about checking in with ourselves and going, what feels right to me? And sometimes that means we do need to ask other people, because we lose our sense of balance in our mindset. So we do lose that. So sometimes we do have to ask some people we really trust. Is this reasonable? Am I expecting too much? Whatever. So we want to trust this, listen to ourselves. It's interesting how we don't do that. I knew in my relationship that I wasn't listening to myself. I knew what I needed to do. How many times are we in a narcissistic relationship and we know, again, that we're going to leave? We need to leave. But then that other part of us starts talking ourselves out of it, going, no, don't do that. Don't do that. So we want to trust ourselves. Listen, what's right? Then the other thing is trusting that this situation has a purpose, right? It's helping us see ourselves from a different angle. It's helping us get our power back. You are going to be so much stronger after having a narcissistic relationship. You will be stronger in your sense of self. You will be living as your authentic self. Okay? They may not like it. And then you get to decide what you're going to do about that, right? But there it is. The last thing here of this part is to be kind to yourself. So lots of times, empaths, we start to criticize ourselves. I should have known better. How could I have been so unaware? I can't believe I can't fix this. I can't believe this, blah, 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 blah. So we start judging ourselves for letting somebody else affect us, or judging ourselves for not knowing what to do, or judging ourselves for being incapable of moving on, or even accusing ourselves of not being spiritual enough to handle it, right? We have to remember that we're doing the best we can in a very difficult situation. We're doing the best we can. But every day, as we learn more about ourselves, it helps and it gets better. And then we learn to give ourselves some grace and forgive ourselves. We are doing the best we can. Knowing everything in my life is here to help me be my best self and learn more about who I really am and what would help me stay strong, helped me recover and heal. So if we can step back a little bit from the relationship and start looking at it more objectively, and going, okay, how can this help me? What am I learning about myself? So we can make it about us, but not in a negative, egotistical, narcissistic way, but just learning more about ourselves. I'm going to hold on, you guys, for 2 seconds. I'm going to text Ashley and see if she'll get rid of this troll. You get rid of this troll. Yes. Sorry for interrupting, but there's so many comments and it's just him and it's irritating. So now we need to be intentional about how we move forward, right? Even if we're dealing with narcissistic relationship now, we want to be intentional. Okay, which means we really have to pay attention to ourselves. We really have to be aware of who we are. All those previous comments I just had, those 7 steps, got to be aware of this. Then we want to decide how we want to move forward, what kind of people we want around us, what kind of energy we want around us. So what's so important for us as empaths dealing with narcissists before, during, after is we need to take some action. We can't just sit there hoping things are going to magically improve on their own. We can't just sit there hoping that one day they're just going to get us and they're going to do that apology or understand us. It's not going to happen. So we have to do something. So we have to take action. So if we're believing and trusting in ourselves, we want to prioritize protecting our energy. We need to prioritize protecting our energy. Okay, what do we need to do? And I'll talk about a few ideas of that, and then we might have some time for questions. And then we want to be intentional about the action you're going to take. The solution to most narcissistic relationships is to walk away and break all ties. That is the solution to most narcissistic relationships. Or they might continue to manipulate you. It might keep happening. Now, you can still be strong. Like as you're learning more about yourself, you might be shifting the dynamic. If you're in a relationship now, you might be shifting that dynamic. Whether it's going to change, another person is up for debate, but you'll be in your power, which will make it easier for it to be intentional and deliberate about how you're going to move forward. It can be very hard to leave a narcissist. Okay, you know you need to, but, and then we have a bunch of reasons why not. It's scary. It's scary. We also feel guilty, I should try harder, or leaving is a sign of not caring, or, well, they've never done anything really that bad, or whatever. All these excuses. So we need to be aware of what's happening in our inner minds here, our thoughts, what's going on in there. What is talking you out of leaving? What is it? And granted, we might have financial concerns, etc. So we have practical things we need to think about. However, in terms of leaving, and then I will talk about when we need to maintain a narcissistic relationship for whatever reasons. But in terms of leaving, we have this inner conflict going, but this can be solved by prioritizing ourselves. Prioritizing our joy, our happiness, our contentment, our lives. Ask yourself, do you want to live the rest of your life like this? We know the other person is not going to change. Okay, now asking yourself that, do you want to live the rest of your life like this, can kind of point out some things to you. And you might go right away, no, I can't. I absolutely can't. And then that inner conflict might come back in where a part of you says, well, maybe it'll get better, maybe this, maybe that, blah, blah, blah. But remember, it's highly unlikely the narcissist is going to change, right? So it is not selfish to prioritize yourself. It is not selfish to want to have a better life, a happier life. It is not selfish to want to go in a different direction. It's self-care. We want to stop with the second chances. Have you ever said this one? If he does this one more time, then I'm out. I know I did many a times. It was probably 35 second chances, right? If he just does it one more time, then I'm out. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So we set that boundary, but I don't know if we can call it a boundary because we don't act on it ever. But we set that boundary and we don't do anything with it. So stop doing it. Stop saying those things. Stop with the second chances. Do you love yourself enough to save yourself? You're not going to get a second chance yourself at having a better life if you stay in a narcissistic relationship. Now, if you're going to walk away, you might need to find some supportive friends or family that you trust to lend you strength and courage, to give you objective facts. I'm sure many of you who may be in a narcissistic relationship now or were in the past had people say to you things like, why are you still with him? What are you doing? Watch out for this, you need to cut ties, and yet we talk ourselves out of it. So we've got that going again. Remember, to solve the inner conflict, you must prioritize yourself. Now, here's where we can have some trouble. Hi, Cindy, nice to see you. The trouble comes up that sometimes we have people in our lives who are narcissists that we love, that we still have to or want to interact with, right? Maybe it's a family member. You love your mother and you still want to have communication with her, but it's a challenge because she's a narcissist. Or maybe your boss is your boss and you can't really leave the job at this point. So how do we handle the narcissists that we need to have in our lives still or want to have in our lives still? Okay. What do? We must protect our energy. And a few weeks ago, I did a show on protecting energy. I don't know if you'll be able to find it. You'll be able to find it on my website, ColleenVanderzyden.com, or on my YouTube channel. Facebook has a new thing now where they delete Facebook Lives after 30 days, so they go away. But they are on my website and my YouTube channel, so you can find it. But there's one I did more recently on protecting your energy with lots of strategies there. So you want to do that. So here's what you want to do. If you have a narcissistic relationship that you are maintaining at some level, okay, you've got to give yourself permission to plan ahead on how you're going to protect your energy. Again, if they're always criticizing you, what are you going to do? What is your boundary? What are you going to do to establish that boundary to protect yourself? Sometimes we might try limiting our interactions with people. Okay, we go, you know what? I only have a few minutes. I have an appointment. I have a previous commitment, so I only have a few minutes. What do we need to talk about? And you just do it that way. Sometimes you can plan to leave the room too. If it's an uncle that always shows up, I always use an uncle, shows up for a family gathering and he's definitely a narcissist and he always triggers you, just leave the room. Okay, you don't have to stay in the room. Remember, do not argue with a narcissist. That's like feeding them. They're like, yes, argue with me so I can argue back with you and show my dominance over you, right? So don't argue with them, okay? They're not going to hear you anyway, okay? So don't do it. So know what's unacceptable to you and stick with that boundary. What are you going to do? Protect your energy. Plan ahead. Now, a couple things you can do energetically that I am going to mention is to set a morning intention. Okay, so maybe you're going to be, maybe your boss is the narcissist. That must be horrible, and I recommend you look for another job. But until then, so you have to go to work, you kind of dread it, you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach and you're thinking, oh, I can't handle this person anymore. I don't even know what to do, right? And you're making yourself sick, maybe physically, definitely mentally with this situation. So set a morning intention that only positive energy will enter your space. Only positive energy. And you want to say it that way. Only positive energy enters my space. Okay. You might also do a personal intention. I am peaceful. I am calm. I am empowered. Those, and make sure you feel how you would feel with these intentions. Say those. That will help. You can also visualize setting an energy bubble around you, which can help if you want to have only positive energy in your space. That can very much help. You can visualize it filling up around you, sparkles, lights, colors, whatever you want in your energy bubble. You get to decide, it's yours. And then that can also help. What you're doing with the morning intention and doing an energetic bubble is you are in control. Okay, you are in control. You're deciding how your day is going to go, and you're taking action by identifying how you want your day to go, and you're taking more action by feeling it. If I am peaceful, how would that feel? If I have an energy bubble around me and nothing enters that, how am I going to feel? Hold on to that feeling. Without the feeling, the intention is not as strong. It's just empty words. So you want to feel it. Literally feel it. Breathe it in and feel it. This strengthens your energy. Now, when you get up in the morning and you're worried about going to work with your narcissistic boss, you are giving your power away. It's going away. Now, it's not necessarily going to your boss, but it's going away. It's going away to your worries and your fears. But when you stop that, set the intention, do the bubble, you're back in your power. And now that you're back in your power, when something happens, you're more centered, you're more grounded, and you will respond intentionally. You won't be quite as reactive. This doesn't mean there's not going to be moments where you react, where you go, oh, geez, but you're back in your power. And this is what we need to do when we're with a narcissist. We need to be in our power. We have to disentangle from all those energetic tendrils they kind of set at us. And it's almost like we get caught up and entangled in something, right? We're stepping back, we're back in our power, and now they don't affect us as much. It is so important that we plan ahead if we have to deal with a narcissist. You can also visualize just strengthening your energy. Just like this. Strengthen my energy. I'm strong. Whatever it is, we can do this. And it's wild because, again, for the vast majority of people, getting out of a narcissistic relationship is the answer. It is the answer. However, we must be realistic and understand that there are some times where, for whatever reasons, we can't, or we can't at this moment. While we're dealing with that, This is the perfect time for us to learn more about ourselves, learn more about who we truly are, learn more about what we really want. Okay. Sometimes what can help, I'm going to backtrack for a sec. If we're sitting there thinking to ourselves, what do I really want? What do I really want? What do I really want? And our minds are all caught up in what's happening, we're not thinking clearly. So what we need to do is sit down, sit in stillness, go out in nature, take a walk, go someplace by yourself where you have enough time and energy to just simply sit, be, or walk, or be in nature. We have to get back into our bodies first, because when we're in our worries and our fears, our heads are going, right? So we need to ground ourselves back in our bodies. So we do that by paying attention to how our body feels, pay attention to our breath, paying attention to our beautiful nature surroundings. We pay attention to those things, okay? So that gets us out of our heads. We need to come back to ourselves. When we do that, we relax, and it might take 10 minutes, it might take 30. Who knows? It depends on how far out you are. So we come back to ourselves, and then we say to ourselves, okay, what do I really want my life to look like? What do I really enjoy doing? What are some good qualities about myself? And in the beginning of my book, Courageously You, there are some beginning examples of you list some things you love about yourself. And this can really help you look at yourself from a positive perspective, to look at yourself and go, you know what? I am a good person. I am a loving person. And you are, because that's who you are. That is who you are at your soul level. Empaths, our biggest problem is that we're too loving and caring. How's that for a thing, right? We're too loving and caring. We try to help. We want to be there for people. So sometimes, though, we forget to do the loving and caring toward ourselves. So this is what we're doing. We're reclaiming our power. We need to be strong, particularly when we're in a narcissistic relationship. So again, back to my retreat, just mentioning that because that's where we let go of things, where we identify what is your most ideal life, and let's figure out how to get there. What would you feel like? What would it look like? And what's in the way? Let's let go of those things. So it is possible to do. And whenever I do this Reimagine Your Life retreat, people create miracles after they leave. It's amazing. That's coming up next month, actually. So interesting. Angel has a great point. Inspirational music is very healing too, and it is. So we've got to get back to ourselves. I mean, this is my message. This is what I talk about 99.99999% of the time. I always say 1,000,000,000% of the time. This is what I talk about all the time. How to be yourself and how to not let situations or other people affect you enough that you lose your power and you lose your authenticity. We need to do this. So when we look at narcissistic relationships, there is a gift within them. I know that sounds crazy, doesn't it? But it's true. There's a gift within them if you are willing to look at it from a slightly different angle. If you're willing to look at it in terms of, what can I learn? How can I grow? Who am I? What's happening? What do I want? You know, these narcissistic relationships are simply a stepping stone to strengthening our power and living as our true selves, as our beautiful, loving, kind, gorgeous souls. It's just a stepping stone if we're willing to look at it. Now, it is not easy. I know this. Believe me, I've been there. You can see. Okay, I've been there. It's not easy. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes persistence. But once you get through that, and if you have a guide along the way, a coach or a spiritual teacher or whatever, you can get through a little bit faster sometimes. But really, it boils down to your willingness. Are you willing to learn from that relationship? Are you willing to let go of the anger and the blame? Are you willing to learn more about yourself and step into your power? Are you willing to do that? And if you are, the rewards are huge. When you get done processing, you will be a totally different person. And by that, I mean you'll be even more amazing than you were before you met that narcissist. You will be in your power. You'll be creating the life you really want to have. We need to learn that we shouldn't allow someone to affect us to such a degree that we lose our sense of self. We don't want to play that narcissistic game. If you're caught in a relationship now and it's back and forth, don't play the game. You're not going to win anyway. Don't play it. Now, if you're really into empath and narcissist and handling these things, I am teaching in Lilydale on June 27th a empath survival skills workshop where I will be giving people lots of strategies to use whenever an empath or a narcissist affects you. Okay, if this happens, try this, do this. Lots of different strategies, some energetic, some mindset shifts, some grounding things, all sorts of things. So that is June 27th in Lilydale, in person, 9:30 in the morning. I think it's a Friday. Okay, so that is even more information. And this has been like a little free mini workshop for you. Isn't that wonderful? You know, it just seemed like the right thing to do these days because there's so much going on. And if anybody is interested in these scammer mans. If anybody is interested in my retreat, Reimagine Your Life retreat, it is in person, May 16th through 18th, I believe are the dates, in Celeron, New York. It's just a little distance away from Lilydale, right on Chautauqua Lake, beautiful, gorgeous setting. I still have room, so you can sign up. Go to my website, ColleenVanderzyden.com, and you can find it under the events tab. It's so much fun. So let me know. Jessica brought tears to my eyes for so long. I didn't. And then one day I found that love again and finally left. Yay. Says, love yourself enough to save yourself. Love yourself enough to save yourself. It's your life. It's your life. Nobody else gets to live it. So you have the responsibility to make it the most amazing life ever. And if you need to walk away, walk away. Okay. And if you're still waiting a little bit, wait a little bit. Do whatever you got to do. Protect your energy. So I hope you have enjoyed this tonight. It's been fun talking about empaths and narcissists. It is one of my my specialties, if you will, because of my experiences, but also because of the energetic connections as well. And it is something that I very much enjoy, helping people reclaim their power so they can be happier and not get sucked down the whirlpool into the depths of hell with a narcissistic relationship. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them to the comments. If you are on Lilydale's page, I will check that tomorrow and go from there. So you guys have fun. See you next time. Maybe. Have fun. Bye.